The floor is all yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming here today. Can you listen to me? Can you hear me? If I will start speaking not loudly enough, please let me know, because this is my negative, feature. My name is ALEXEI LESNYKH. I work for DeviceLock, a company that develops the like-named endpoint data leakage prevention software. Recently, specifically, since May, June this year, quite a lot of our customers and prospects have asked us the same question. Could data leak prevention technologies be useful in achieving compliance with the newly adopted in the European Union General Data Protection Regulation? This presentation provides a brief explanatory answer to this question based on the analysis we conducted on the regulations text by mapping its legal requirements down to technical requirements and then comparing them with the functional capabilities of data leak prevention and other IT security technologies available today. The arguments and conclusions from this presentation can be used by system and security architects, chief information security officers, and other decision makers for developing their own conclusive opinion whether DLP components should be used in the projects aimed at making their corporate IT systems GDPR compliant. First of all, let's recall why GDPR has become so hot topic. The main reason is that this regulation significantly changes the landscape and level of legal risks for those companies that handle personal data in their business processes. The GDPR supersedes the old data protection directive, and for what is important for private persons, this regulation unifies the legal norms and enforcement procedures related to personal data protection across the entire European Union, because the GDPR is a law, a set of strictly specified and directly enforceable rules rather than just a set of goals as is the old directive. On the other hand, for organizations, the regulation brings several complications. Their analysis is not luckily the goal of this presentation, so that would be enough to mention just very few of them. I would say the most indicative. One of these important changes is that first time ever the principle of data protection by design has become a law norm in a European law, which, and for the majority of organizations, for the absolute majority of the organizations, compliance with this principle will require a strategic shift in the systems design and development with potentially considerable implications or considerable impacts in terms of development costs and design costs. However, the most important for organizations are very high penalties for infringing the regulation. This may reach up to 20 million euro or up to 4% of the total worldwide turnover, not income, annual turnover, whichever is higher. A very compelling motivation to comply with the regulation. Besides, the regulation specifies a very short data breach notification time, just 72 hours, and exceeding this limit may lead to the just mentioned large penalties. Taking into account these and other innovations introduced in the regulation, it shouldn't be a surprise at all that European organizations are very much interested in understanding the obligations under this new law and developing ways how to comply with this regulation. Before we go to legal requirements, let's refresh our memory on what are data leak prevention technologies and their defining functions and features, because it will be useful further later on for understanding the logic of conclusions. Data leak prevention technologies is a system of integrated IT security technologies that detect and prevent unauthorized use, transmission, and storage of confidential, protected, or otherwise sensitive data by applying a combination of contextual and content analysis methods and enforcing centrally managed data protection policies. Every word in this definition is very important, but I will not spend your time on dedicated explanation. In order to protect digital data in their three fundamental states, data DLP systems implement three DLP functional types, including data in use DLP, data in motion DLP, and data at rest DLP. Data in use DLP controls access and transfer operations on local endpoint computers. Data in motion DLP prevents leakage, data leakage through network communications, and data at rest discovers exposed confidential content in data stored at corporate IT assets and can automatically initiate various remediation actions to prevent unauthorized access, use, and transmission of this data. Each DLP functional type uses different specific endpoint enforcement agents. Only endpoint agents can be used to enforce data in use DLP, while both endpoint agents and network resident hardware, software, or virtual appliances can complement each other to enforce data in motion DLP. Data at rest DLP uses endpoint agents to scan local file systems, and network resident discovery service can be used for remote scanning. What are defining DLP features and functions? First, this is the ability to enforce real-time preventive controls, meaning something before something bad happens, over a wide range of data leakage channels and scenarios, including practically all local channels on endpoint computers, most risky network communications, and various data storage devices and systems. Second, a comprehensive set of contextual parameters can be used for operation analysis and controls. Here you can see just a few of them listed, but in reality, dozens of such parameters can be used in DLP policies. Third, and the most important, is the ability to analyze and classify the informational, human meaningful content of transmitted, used, and stored data of various formats and types, including not only files and emails, but also instant messages, web forms, web mails, raw textual data, and in some scenarios, even binaries. In DLP, content analysis is used to detect prohibited content in data and block unauthorized operations with this data. And the last defining DLP attribute is that all data protection policies, in this case DLP policies, are managed centrally by IT security administrators rather than by end users, for example, document owners. This is the biggest difference, by the way, and also content analysis with the very popular IRM, Information Rights Management Technology. Important is that in DLP systems, these defining functions and features are deeply integrated on both management and execution levels. And it is this deep integration that differentiates data leakage prevention from other IT security technologies and enables DLP to deliver its unique value when it comes to protecting corporate IT systems against data leaks. In other words, no real substitutes are for DLP. No other IT security technology available today has the same integrated set of functions and features dedicated and optimized for the mission of data leak prevention. That's about refreshment about DLP. Now I can share with you the results of our research of the regulations text. Expectedly, DLP is not mentioned in the document. There are only two types of specific security technologies prescribed by the regulation, including encryption and pseudonymization, which is fully reasonable. Strange, though, is that although the personal data breach definition is in the document's glossary, and the regulation specifies the data breach notification time, as well as penalties for delaying with notifications. We could not find any direct wording that tells personal data breaches shall be prevented. Indeed, that was not what we wanted, and we patiently studied logical relations between different articles in this legal text. And the result of this study was very positive. One of the fundamental data protection principles specified in Article 5 of the regulation requires security for personal data to be to include also protection against unauthorized or unlawful processing and against accidental loss, destruction, and damage. What does the term processing mean can be found in the glossary of the document, which you can see now. Processing denotes several types of processing operations, including, among others, the operations that we are interested in: storage, use, disclosure by transmission, dissemination, or otherwise making available. If we substitute the word processing in the articulation of the integrity and confidentiality principle by the list of operations we specific operations we are interested in, we derive a subordinate requirement that relates specifically to these operations. And you can see the definition of this requirement now appears on the screen. If we compare this derived requirement with the personal data breach definition in the documents glossary, Article 4, we can see that this personal data breach definition is exactly the same as the highlighted part of the derived principle. Then, if the words personal data breach are used instead of the highlighted text in the requirement, this derived requirement transforms into the one that we have been looking for, the one that was hidden under the hood of cryptic legal language. And it sounds like personal data shall be protected against data breaches. And the last step in the logic of our textual analysis is to compare the classic definition of data leak, which comes from the industry, with the personal data breach definition from the regulations glossary. The comparison reveals that actually data leak is a type of data breach, as you can see, and which means that as personal data shall be protected against data breaches, they shall be protected against any type of data breaches, including data leaks. Bingo. Though without any direct wording, the GDPR logically the GDPR logically requires that personal data shall be protected against data leaks. Now let's get from the legal findings to the technical level. What is technically necessary to protect data of specific type that the regulation is about? The nature of the GDPR is the protection of a specific type of data, personal data, the data that contain personally identifiable information. But getting back to reality, we must say that in any IT systems processing personal data, a lot of other types of data is also used, including various auxiliary business process information, employees' communications, reports, anonymized statistics, etc., etc. These types of data, they do not contain personal information, and their processing does not require GDPR compliance. In other words, operations with non-personal data shall neither be protected by GDPR enforcement components nor restricted by them. As a result, in many scenarios, the very same operation, for example, sending a mail, shall either be allowed because it carries on non-personal data and does not violate any GDPR requirement, or this operation with personal data shall be blocked because it leads to a data leak. However, the only difference between these two cases is the content of the processed data. This means that security components of GDPR-compliant processing systems must use content analysis in order to transparently allow non-personal data operations and at the same time for blocking operations with personal data in order to prevent data leaks. This is a very important point before we can go to the summary of the results of our research on the main topic of this presentation. Let's recall what we have. Personal data shall be protected against data breaches, which means that personal data shall be protected against data leaks. And in order to protect against data leaks, security components must use content analysis to detect and control operations with personal data. And as we remember from the beginning of this presentation, data leak prevention is the only existing technology that can use content analysis of transmitted, used, and stored data in order to enforce real-time security controls. So what we can say that DLP is critical for GDPR compliance. That does not mean, in no way this means that other technologies are not required. Besides those directly recommended in the regulation, many other technologies are required to comply with GDPR because there are many principles in addition to the integrity and confidentiality principle. So, but the most important outcome and conclusion for us as DLP vendor and for our customers is that data leak prevention is a necessary piece of this entire technological puzzle needed for GDPR compliance. And now, if we have time, yeah, I'll try to do this best, to do my best to speed up. Pragmatic question: which DLP types to use? If we get back to the derived requirement and look at the types of protections required, that we can see that all three DLP functional types are required because storage, use, and disclosure, but transmission and also dissemination are mentioned in the requirement. And the next question we often hear now is what data protection by design. To describe this in a couple of words, data protection in this case and security in general requirements and functionality must be considered as a core business requirements when you develop any application or system. And in practice, it means that developers must also have security expertise, and the system is not ready for release until all data protection features are also developed and QA'd, tested at the same level of reliability that core business operations. And if we apply this to DLP as a core security feature of GDPR compliance, then what should be taken into consideration? Important is that, besides business logic, which may be implemented as a set of custom applications, yeah, there are many general-purpose components used in modern systems and solutions, including databases, standard web browsers, email system, instant messaging, and other things, yeah? And also network and operating systems are involved. And another component of any business system that processes personal data is users and administrators. And what is important to know when doing DLP by design, that every IT component might require different DLP mechanisms for data leak prevention. And even more important is that human nature is unchangeable. We all times will be doing accidental mistakes. We will be negligible. In some cases, we will misconduct, or we will become victims of social engineering, phishing. And all the things lead to data leaks. So the human, sorry, my English probably not perfect, but humans must be considered as an integral part of any data processing system, and for them special care shall be taken in the DLP policies. And when choosing DLP solutions, of course, all these criteria must be taken into consideration. And in case if just a single DLP solution cannot cover all these concerns, then other complementary DLP solutions shall be used. The very real example that many storage, cloud storage providers, service providers, they actually integrate their embedded DLP components with APIs, and this can be used for integration with other DLP solutions or using separately. So that's basically all the content, and let's get information on conclusions. GDPR does not directly mention, but logically requires the use of DLP technologies. Specifically, implementation of the integrity and confidentiality principle is practically impossible without using DLP solutions. As a core security feature of GDPR-compliant data processing, DLP should be included in the implementation of data protection by design, whichever form it takes. And another conclusion, another part of the GDPR nature is that protects against internal threats, processing-related and human-related. And the consequence is that most effective for GDPR compliance will be those DLP solutions that are focused on preventing insider data leaks. This is exactly what DeviceLock DLP does. Who are insiders? Insiders are normal business users. They create, they use, and they store information. In order to do that job, they use mostly personal computers, laptops, desktops, servers, and recently tablets and BYOD devices. If organization cannot control, does not control access to information on endpoint computers, and its transfer from this endpoint computer, then a lot of easy ways remains to be completely open for accidental or deliberate extrusion of valuable corporate data to the wild. In order to solve this problem, DeviceLock has developed a software solution that includes for preventing data leaks on endpoint computers. The solution includes a lightweight endpoint agent that runs on every protected endpoint computer, and it protects this computer against all three types of data leaks: data in use, data in motion, and data at rest. This is a very lightweight enforcement agent for Windows and Mac computers, and another important thing is that this solution is very scalable and easy to use, because one of the options of management platforms and consoles is a custom-made MMC snap-in to the Microsoft Group Policy Management Console. So it means that in order to manage this solution, you do not need something new platform. You can use your Active Directory controller to do this with very familiar graphical user interface, because everything is managed natively via group policies. It's not just graphical user interface, it's native management. And of course, no involvement of end users, and the agent is protected also even from local system administrators. Yeah. This is just a couple of words about the company. We are already 20 years on the market. Initially, we developed endpoint device port control software and get, probably we still are the biggest provider of device port control software. And since 2011, we sell also our data leak, total data leak prevention software. A lot of customers throughout the world, privately owned. Research and development in Moscow, Russia. That's probably important for you now. Although our biggest market is the United States. And we sell in almost more than 100 countries. And in order to estimate the quality of our product, you can go and read, for example, SC magazine, which gave us 5-star rating in the 4 consecutive evaluations that they made annually. And you can see, this selling, characteristics. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm ready for any questions right now and afterwards.